Thank you. All right. So today I'm going to talk about the counter-subversion of the Black Power movement and my thesis, which basically looks at the response that the federal government, the FBI, and the CIA had to the Black Power movement in the late 1960s. Now, one of the biggest ideas or conundrums that I find come out of this time is that the response by both liberal and conservative policymakers was to increase policing actions instead of to increase social service actions, which was exactly the recommendations of the National Commission on Civil Disobedience, which ruled in 1967 that the creation and response to urban unrest in major American cities was created by mainly urban male unrest or minority males because there was massive unemployment in these regions that was created by deindustrialization and was also fueled by white supremacist narratives that had ruled America for centuries. Now at this time in the late 1960s, what you'll see is that the same white supremacist narratives that were being basically deflected or being attacked by the Black Power movement as being hurtful to them were then used to basically co-opt the movement and suppress it by the FBI and CIA in attempts basically to turn these groups against each other, to destroy the unity that had been building in the civil rights movement and that had led them to challenge the white supremacist narrative. Now, one of the biggest things that I bring forth is that today our popular culture is still dominated by white supremacist narratives. Now, the reason why it's dominated by these narratives is because the Black Power movement was completely suppressed and neutralized by the federal government. And at the same time, these popular images that were dominating American culture for centuries then seeped into the American popular culture through blaxploitation film, into the hood films of the 1990s, and then through gangster rap today. You'll find that these popular cultural images are defining to us, and not only to us, but to the people living in these communities, the life that they want, or that is supposedly their life, which is a life that is created by this narrative. It's not a life that is necessarily a product of that environment. And this is something that I put forth continuously. And when I look at my research through the 1960s and 70s, what I find is that increasing policies that were put towards policing instead of creating social services to better the social conditions of these communities, you'll find that these same policies led towards mass incarceration, and they led towards the same criminal profiling and police brutality that you'll see affecting America today. Now, many of these problems come from the narrative that is still being pushed through popular culture, and that's something that I cannot repeat, and I cannot get enough into people's heads that this is something that needs to be addressed and needs to be looked at. Because if it isn't, then the same things that have been happening for the past 40 years will keep happening because we don't question our own ideas and we don't question where they're coming from and who actually believes them. Thank you.